and it's three-way or four-way kind of throughout the area. And the way this device works is, first of all, when you're storing it, when you're not using it, you remove your batteries. Kind of logical, but a lot of people forget that. They leave their batteries in. 5 years from now, you want it because you've got to replace a switch and your device is dead. But the way you use this is you push this center button. You can see it's the round center button. The screen will come up and it's booting up. And basically what it's telling me is to read, I push the down arrow. If I push the left arrow, it'll go off. So to read it out, you can see a little window on the switch here, and you see the infrared window on the top of the device. I aim it at the switch. I push the read button, and as long as I've got that symbol, it means it's communicating. And now it's come up. And what it's telling me is this is page number 1. And it's telling me I can go left and right. And it's an individual dim, or dim individual, which that's the top portion. And it happens to be address 0-1. What you'll see as you go around any of the rooms, they're going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or they're going to be some group number. And in this case, what that means is there's 4 dimmers on the controller board. We're controlling the number 1 dimmer on that controller board. And then I hit the right arrow. Like I said, we're on page 1. I can go to page 2, and it tells me the dimmer switch is an individual relay 0-2. So if you look at those controller boards, there's 4 relays. It's the second relay that it's wired to. Now, this particular room, we're going to change this to a group number because this has an emergency relay. So we've got to turn relay number 2 on and off, and then there's a box on the bottom that has 2 additional relays, and we're going to include those. I've got to call the factory to find out what that group number is. But if you read this out tomorrow, instead of seeing on page 2 individual 02, you're going to see group some number, probably like 108 or 112. And then the final function, and by the way, I can hit the down arrow and the up arrow to get to each one of these windows, and I can change them by scrolling around. And so if you put a new switch in, what you're going to notice is that function on the second page is always going to come up off. And I've had, I make that mistake a lot where I'm not really paying attention to this. The lights are on just like this. You hit it and they go, oh, turned off, everything's good. They won't turn back on. It's because the function's off only, and it's just a matter of rereading it out and setting the function to toggle.
Okay.
So that's what this thing means. Realistically, if you're replacing a switch, when you put it in, your guys need to have the number to Douglas Lighting Controls, the manufacturer, and you talk to them about how you need it addressed, and they'll help you through this process.
So Terry, just to recap,
Mm-hmm.
once you read a switch, you have an issue with the switch. You read the switch, you've got the parameters.
Yep.
Now you're going to change the parameters, and now on that screen it says right.
Yes, good. So this switch right now is toggled, as we've seen. Let's say I want to make it an off only for some reason, or an on only. You may, some schools you may want some of your switches on only so the students can't turn the lights off. But I'll make this one an off only just so you can see it. So now I'm going to push the center button again, and now it tells me the up arrow gives me a right. So again, I aim it back, push the up arrow to right it back into the switch, and now you'll notice the lights go off, but they won't come back on. It's an off only. And I get it back by
So
going
something
back.
we want to do, set it so kids can't turn it off?
The one issue you have,
It'll be on.
No,
It's
because
still-
the sensor will shut it off.
The sensor shuts it off. That's probably okay, right?
do we
Well,
have,
I'm just thinking because Becky said they can turn them off up here. I don't know, that's my question. You think we should?
So if it's on only, it still goes off after a certain time.
Yep.
yeah, it's whatever the timeout is on the
Yeah.
sensors, and we'll go to the sensors next so you can see how you can adjust that. But some schools I go into want all their corridor switching to be on only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the
Makes
disruption.
sense.
It would make sense, and nobody can monkey with them. That would be almost rooms too. Yeah.
Except for if you're watching a movie or
Yeah,
something,
or
you're gonna want
something,
control.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
you'd want
If
the
the teacher,
rooms.
then you have control over that in a classroom.
Right.
You know, if a kid's shutting it
Yeah,
off,
then
you can figure
So
that out.
rooms, just the hallway, I guess,
Yeah.
would be more,
Yep.
more where
Yeah.
that would be.
Okay. So that's true of the digital areas, and Larry and I can walk around and we can change them to on only
Yep.
if you want us to do that today.
Yeah,
And
so
Is
just
this
be,
the same type of switch that's in all the classrooms too, then?
It looks the same, except those do not have an infrared window. They're actually hardwired. They're
Oh.
physically connected. There's really no programming to do on
So
them.
you wouldn't
Okay.
do that.
In
Like,
those.
that's not in my automation or nothing in those
Well,
rooms.
in the rooms, you have two switches over at the teacher's desk that have dimmers on them. And then you have two switches that are on off by the door. Those
Oh,
on,
okay.
off.
Okay.
Okay, I got you.
But yeah, they're not programmable, so there's a physical wire connection's been made. You know, one switch controls relay 1 and the other controls relay 2.
Okay.
And there's no adjustment for you, and they're on and off
Yeah.
by design. So you don't have that flexibility in those.
Okay.
What you do have is the aux sensors look very similar in the rooms as they do out here. So we'll go to an aux sensor and I'll show you that. So right here's an aux sensor, and the first thing is we walk up, you notice it's flashing green and yellow. These are dual tech aux sensors. The green is passive infrared. So if you think of it like an infrared camera as we walked up, it was seeing us walking up. That's the green. Every time it flashes, that camera's picked up. And then the kind of yellowish color that you see is when I'm talking. That's a voice pickup. So it's dual technology. And you notice on this side of the sensor, we've got 4 little holes, looks like a little microphone. That's actually where the infrared pickup is. So the same process, I push the center button, and it's gonna tell me the down arrow again is read. You know, I get as close to the sensor as I can, and the range of this realistically is about 5 or 6 feet. If you're greater than that, like that high area out there, you probably have to have a ladder to get up to there. But I mean, let's push the read button, and aux sensors can take longer than switches. You notice it's still reading, and there it finally read out. And here we've got page 1 tells me it's a dual tech aux sensor. It's group 116. And again, that group number is a number that Douglas has assigned. As Larry has witnessed, I don't know what those group numbers are. Anytime I want to make a change, I need to know this aux sensor, which relays do I want to control? In this case, it's relay 2 and relay 6. And I call them and I tell them that that's what I need to do, and they'll ask some other questions, what the job name is, job number, and they'll tell you what group to put in here.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's frustrated me that I don't have a table of that information, but I don't. And then number 2, so this is the occupancy. Page 1 is occupancy. What occupancy means is as I walk into the space, that's the group it's going to turn on. Now, group 99 is a unused group. If we set this aux sensor at group 99 on the occupancy page number 1, it would not turn the lights on. It would be a vacancy sensor, just a different usage, which I doubt you're going to want that, but
No.
I want you to know that it exists. Page 2 is the unoccupied, and in this case, it's the same group. What the unoccupied, that's the thing that turns the lights off. So the other thing is you can turn one relay on only, for example, and you could turn multiple relays off with these sensors. So that's what unoccupied versus occupied is about. The next page is my PIR, passive infrared, that camera I was describing. It's set right down at medium, and ADI voice is set at medium. Walkthrough is disabled. What walkthrough is a term used in an office typically. And if you set office or walkthrough as enabled, when you walk into the space, let's say you grabbed a paper, the lights would turn on, and you walk right back out, it would turn them back out without going through the timeout. It's just, it's in that mode where you get this momentary on, and then it goes right back off because it recognizes you've left. And finally, the indicator on, that's that green and yellow light. If you have someone complaining that flash is bothering them, you can set the indicator to off. Sensor still works. It's just, you
Not
lose
showing
that
you that
verification that it's picking you up. And the way you would change any of these is, again, I hit the down arrow, I highlight whatever I want to change, and I spin the little daisy wheel for whatever I want it to be. We can disable a function if you find that the voice, the ADI, is picking up and the lights never turn off in an area, you know, like your pods. You've got a classroom which sits empty for 2 sessions or 2 hours a day, but the lights never turn off because people are out in the center. you may have to turn the voice off
Oh,
to
okay.
alleviate that problem.
Okay.
So that's, that's how you do it. You'd read it out, find that, spin
Okay, so
around
shut
to
it off.
disable, or maybe go to low first. And then once you've done that, you push your center button and you aim it and push the right button. And you have to stand there and wait for, that signal, that sign that
It's
it's
gonna be
sending the
done.
signal that it's doing it.
Okay.
And if you're unsure, it never hurts to read it back out again and double check that, when you read it out, that those parameters are in there.
Okay.
So that's really the system. Anything else? I mean, it just, the same thing repeats over and over. These aux sensors are throughout all of your classrooms. And what we're doing here is what you would do in any of them. And then the switches are in these open areas, a few of them, not that many really.
Probably the only thing is maybe the timeout, once if somebody leaves a room.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I was going to talk about that. Thanks, Larry.
How long the timeout is, you mean?
Yeah, on the first page, again, where you notice that we've got Smart Sense 15 seconds. And what that is primarily in a toilet room if you were using these sensors. If you're in a stall, the PIR will lose you. Obviously, it's a line of sight. And if you say something, the lights go off. And within 15 seconds, if you say something, they'll come back on. Because these sensors, in order to ensure the lights aren't on when they shouldn't be, are designed so both technologies are actually required to kick them on. So that Smart Sense allows either technology to immediately kick them back on. And then you notice vacancy 10 minutes. From the factory, it's got a 10-minute timeout, that's standard. You can again hit the down arrow, go to that 10-minute, and you can go up to 40 minutes on this sensor. Some other sensors, you're going to see longer timeout periods. But
10 minutes, good.
yeah, 10 minutes should be good, but if you have an instructor who sits in the corner of the room, you may find that that's not enough. Because if they don't move around enough to trip it every 10 minutes, the lights will go out, you get complaints. And that's where you need to be able to go in and
Okay.
make that change.
Okay.
And also if they leave and hit the off button,
Yes,
and then come back in, the sensor won't pick them up.
Because they shut it off.
right, yeah, if it's set in occupancy mode, which they all are, you expect when you walk into the room, the sensor's going to turn the lights on. Well, if you walk out of the room and within that timeout period, whatever it's set at, say 10 minutes like this sensor, you come back in 9 minutes and the sensor says, I'm still occupied, so it won't turn the lights on. It has to go through its timeout, and it actually, even though the lights are off, it sends an off signal to the lights. Then you walk back in, it can send the on signal. So yeah, that's a complaint we'll get from people. They'll come back
So they
into the
can't even
room.
push the button and turn it on?
They can't, yeah. The
So
button
They
still
have
works.
to push the button.
Push button.
They have
They
to.
can't expect it to turn.
It's gotta
on.
go through the 10 minutes though, and then they can, but you can turn it on within the 10 minutes if you push the button?
Anytime, yeah, the button will work anytime.
Right. So
It's just, yeah, if you think of it, the sensor still thinks you're in there, and it doesn't know if you're doing a presentation and you don't want the lights on and, everything was still for a while, so
Okay.
it won't turn them on within that timeout period. It has to time out, and then you come back in and it can turn them on.
Okay.
So adjusting in the classroom, you're adjusting this if you want to change the time that it's.
Right.
But if you go
Switches are
more than
adjusted.
10, every time they come in, if the lights are off, they're gonna always have to turn it on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I would
So I'd
imagine
say
the
the
other
10
problem you'd
the
have
10's
is if
better.
students were leaving during a presentation
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and the lights are out, that might be an issue.
Yeah, from my point of view, I like vacancy sensors. I would prefer in all of the rooms, classrooms actually, to set them up as vacancy instead of occupancy sensors. And that forces people to always use the switch. They know where the switch is, they get accustomed to it, but
Yeah, they're
that's,
used to them. We have sensors in these rooms that they come on when you come in, and if
Yeah.
you're not there long enough, they shut off. And
yeah. I
They're not
believe
used to that.
this school was all set, or designed as occupancy, so, I have an opinion, but
Yeah, I don't think
it's only an
you-
opinion.
You
Yeah,
can
problem.
change it quite
But
easily.
you
have
can
problems,
change
we'll
it.
figure it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's it. Other than that, like these devices, when we have the digital switches, the ones with the windows on them, they're connected back to a box, a relay box, if you will, with an 18-2 conductor. It's non-polar. So from an electrician's point of view, whoever would change a switch out or change an aux sensor, it's low voltage, 24 volt max. You
I'll
know,
have to find out, maybe if you're on the studio, so
yeah.
I don't know that.
Hopefully you
I don't know if
won't need
electrician
to.
has to do them or not.
No,
You don't know, Tim?
Yeah, it's,
they're
I'll talk
expensive
to-
if you screw them in.
We have electricians.
Yeah,
that we
unfortunately,
have to
you're
run
right.
our own.
you know, they're in excess of $100.
Well,
a
Larry's
switch.
got a 2-year warranty, so I'll call Larry for 2 years.
There you go, 2
There you go.
years.
Larry will call me and we'll have a discussion and figure it out. And, you know, and that's fine, you know, that's the way it works, but going down the road, you know. The biggest complaint I get about these systems, I've been doing this a long time, is I get old systems. People have not used this for years and they'll complain if they don't know how to use it, and I always try to point out to them,
Oh, yeah.
it's actually a good thing you don't know how to use it.
Yep.
You know, if you're
Oh, yeah,
using it
we-
all the
yeah.
time.
I'll forget by tomorrow.
Well, you got that tape right here.
That's why.
Rob's smart.
Yeah.
So when it goes out, we send Rob now.
No, I'll just give you the video.
The
you
video.
watch.
Yeah, that's fine. All right.
So,
All right.
kind of a short and sweet, but that, you know, that covers really the system, how it functions, how you adjust it, how you
Right.
would work with it.